Hello, friends, and welcome back. We are back again to talk about The Penguin, Episode 3. The title is Bliss. I'm here again with Jarrod. Jarrod, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you?
Oh, it's it's nice having a series that we're watching weekly that's this good.
It certainly is, yeah, and it makes it the weekend. Because it happens on Sunday night, so that's like the end of the weekend. And normally you're like, I got to work tomorrow, but now we got the Penguin to look forward to. So it's makes the end of the weekend a little more able to a little more exciting. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked a lot last week about Vic and kind of his path, and I I was thinking this was it for him in this episode. Did you think the same thing?
It was interesting because it could have been it for him in a couple of different ways, because this was kind of like his you get a lot of backstory about Vic this time around, and so there was choices he could have made, and he could have just left with his girlfriend, and but there was a lot of really nice character interaction between him and the Penguin, that because you could have easily thought that the Penguin just could have got mad at him and that was it, end of Vic. And they kind of hinted that at the very beginning. They give this when they're doing his backstory, and he's I forget what he did, but he said to the girlfriend, "Don't kill me."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is that foreshadowing? Is he gonna be later on in the story? Is he gonna be at gunpoint? Is somebody gonna be mad at him? Is it gonna be Oz the Penguin, or is it gonna be one of these other gangsters or whatever? And he does say it later in the episode, but in a different context. But I just thought that was a nice little line to throw in there, even though he was saying it jokingly to his girlfriend. But it just really set the tone for this setup of Victor's story, basically, and how he got into crime.
Yeah, we talked last week too, because I think I mentioned that we didn't get really, we haven't really been introduced to him. Like he seemed, I thought maybe they weren't developing him too much because he was fodder, but it turns out that his family's dead, and that whole sequence really gives us a lot of information about him and his goals, and it sets up the choice he makes later in the episode.
Certainly does, yeah. And I love how you get the scenes, you get his family life, you get Victor questioning the family life about, Dad, is this all you want? And stuff like that. So you have that little bit of tension, family tension, normal family tension that you see. And then later on, when his girlfriend's talking to him, she's like, I'm out of here. I want to get out of this place. And he turns around and kind of defends the city a little bit. No, why do you want to leave here for? It's not that bad. And we got this and that. And then, of course, disaster happens soon after that.
Yeah, I think the interaction between him and his dad about kind of his dad's just happy with the life they have, and he's kind of content, and he's be happy for what you have, and just kind of and Vic, you could tell he wants more. He wants something more than just, I don't want to say just surviving, because they seem like they're comfortable, but he wants to do something more, something greater. He has that ambition to do something. So later, I was wondering if the lifestyle would scare him away when he was in the club and he was being kind of the mule. But yeah, I thought that whole thing was set up really great, and the flashbacks that he had too. That was just really great, because that's what would happen if you would go through something like that.
Sure, yeah. No, it was set up beautifully, and it was also set up in contrast to what happens later when the Penguin is telling him that, he's telling him the same thing that he basically told his father earlier on in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
You want more than this. You want bigger things. You want better things. When he's talking to him, and so it just came full circle. It came in, and it wasn't the same character repeating the same things. It was the characters. It was being turned around on the characters, and I just love how their relationships go back and forth. They're not static at all. There's a lot of interplay between them, and there's a lot of thought and emotion going into the situation they're in and how they're reacting to each other. And it's so realistic, really, because that's how life is. You have your ups and downs in the relationships, and you have contrasting opinions sometimes, but it's still all very much within character. They're not breaking character mold or anything like that. So very well done.
Yeah, and something that you mentioned in the first episode that I didn't catch when I watched it is that when he knows that Vic had the stutter, that he felt a kind of connection to him, and I think that's what warmed Penguin up to Vic in a way that was more likely for him to take him under his wing. And I think he has this attachment. I think Oz, for as much awful stuff as he does, I think he still has this attachment to him, like he feels like he can relate to him in some ways. That he started off as a driver. He started off kind of at the bottom and he worked his way up. So I think he sees himself in some ways in Vic.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he actually defends Victor later on against I think it was against Sophia, and for that very reason, because Sophia was giving him a hard time when he was having a hard time answering her because of his stutter. And I think the Penguin defends him against her later on for that very reason. And you kind of like, and it's funny because you have, I think, Oz likes Sophia for a similar reason, because she has her own handicap, so to speak. It might be a mental, health type of handicap, but still, she is pretty messed up, as we've seen. Yeah. And I think he latches on to her for that very same reason. So we're starting to see the character of the Penguin latch on to these things and latch on to, a little bit of crazy. And that totally fits with who the Penguin, we know the Penguin, who he becomes later on in life. And so there's a lot of great setup here for that eventuality.
Yeah, it's all really, really well done. And the flashback of him and his family, and he's left with nothing. I thought all of that was really, really great, and that also set up the moment in the club later where he does have the flashback, and he has of course he has a form of PTSD going through that whole experience. I just love that. It touches on these really emotional beats, but this episode I thought it was a little bit more forward with the humor too, but it's a humor with an edge. It's a I don't want to say black humor, but it's like when Oz is giving him money and he says you can make $1,000 a week, and no one knows what you're worth until you ask for it. And he says, okay, I want $2,000 a week, and he just laughs and says, there you go, but no. Yeah, that was really great.
Yeah, no, that was great stuff too. That's the same thing as the Penguin taking him under his wing. He's teaching him the way of the streets or the life, I guess, is what is more apt there. So it was really great stuff. And he's even teaching him when when Victor whispers to Penguin, hey, she's the hangman, and he's even saying, hey, don't believe everything you read, kid. He said that, so because we got a little bit of her. Was it this episode? We got it's the previews for the next one. Never mind. I think we're going to get a little more Sophia's past in the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll look at the previews, so that's what I was mixing it up. But anyways, but he tells him, don't believe everything you read. So we're not, at that point, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm unsure about Sophia and her history as well. We don't know how accurate her portrayals has been in the eyes of her family and in the eyes of how other people see her yet. Soon to find out.
Yeah, we will find that out pretty quick. And so the whole Vic and Oz thing, I thought worked really well together, like we had talked about. And also the Sophia and Oz connection is building. I think Sophia she's, I don't know if she's, because she I don't know, at some points it seems like she's warming up to him and she's trusting him, and then she kind of puts him in his place too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once again, another well done storytelling path between those two. Because back in the apartment, he defends Victor against her, and she ends up doing the same exact thing to Victor that her family's done to her. And I just love that. She tells him she shuts him out and tells him to shut up and drive, or whatever the scene was. But that's basically what her family's doing to her. Mm-hmm. And then what was it? And then she hides all the information she has from the Penguin when they go see the Triad. And so I was like, it's like, because the Penguin opened up to her, and because he was hiding information previously, and so he opened up to her when she asked about what he did, because I guess it was his fault that she's was put in Arkham Asylum in this first place. And he was very blunt about, yeah, I did it. And he gave that whole sorry speech and all that stuff, and then she ends up leaving him out of the equation when dealing with the Triads. And so it's just, I love how it all just came together like that. It's really good.
It almost seems like there's a power struggle there between the two of them, and I wondered if that apology was sincere, or is he apologizing because he has to, because she puts him on the spot. Mm-hmm. And it seems like she's the type of person who, it's better to be completely brutally honest with her and say, yes, I did it, and these are the reasons why, and I don't regret it. Because if you lie to her, I don't think she wouldn't have taken him very much farther.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's ballsy to do that on the Penguins fight, because you don't know, you could lose her in a second. And but you're right. She seems like the type that's just gonna see through a lie, and then just not trust you because of that. And the funny thing is, should she have trusted him? Because at the very end, it was an extreme situation at the end, but he did just take off, and we don't know we don't know Sophia's fate at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the best. I don't know if that was the best choice for him, because you've built up all this trust in her with her, and you've completed this deal. But if she isn't around, she's kind of protecting him too, because they need each other right now, and the family doesn't need Oz. He's kind of a joke. He's I think at best like a henchman. He's not really high priority. So they need each other. So I was surprised that he left her. I was really surprised they didn't stop and at least see if she's okay, or throw her in the car with them. Because if she dies,
Yeah, yeah. If she dies, the gig is up. He'll never get anywhere in the family. So, I mean, that was really quite the wrench in the works, having the Maronis show up like that. And and of course, Victor gets to play a little bit of the hero there with the car thing. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It happened so fast. I could see how the Penguin be panicked and say, "Let's go." But he's panicked, but he's also very hyper in a kind of a crazy way, because he was kind of laughing and saying, "We're in it now."
Yeah.
Kind of ecstatic at the same time. So who knows what's going through his head at that moment where he decided he told Victor to just take off and go and don't worry about Sophia at this point.
And when they go and they present the drug to the triads, and Oz is kind of cutting in, and we call it Bliss, and he kind of not so much talks over her, but he tries to kind of be the forefront, or kind of lead the conversation, and the looks that she gives him, because she sees the manipulation the way that he's trying to manipulate everyone else. So I think she's starting to wonder if he's lying to them, if this is what he can do, and he always, because I think she tells him later, you see all the right things. So I don't think she trusts him, because she sees what he's capable of, but I think she needs him right now. So she has to trust him, at least for now. But later, when she is in a position of power, if she gets there, I don't know if he's expendable. I mean, is he worth keeping around?
Yeah, they're both playing a dangerous game, no doubt about it. She did trust him enough to set up Vito with that whole situation. And I don't know about you, but I kind of forgot why that was her uncle's wife, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of forgot why she would do that.
Well, they needed someone, because the triads didn't believe that they had the backing of the family, which they don't. So right. to prove it, they needed someone to vouch for them, and they needed Johnny V to vouch for them. So they blackmailed him. They had him in a compromising position to blackmail him, so he would vouch for them. And he's not going to say anything. He's not going to admit it, because then they would expose him for the things he's doing.
Right. So did they have a relationship before? Yeah,
those are the pictures that Oz finds in the first episode when he's going through the safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I got it. Yeah. All right. So now it's coming together, because I was confused, because I was like, why would she do that? But they were
fooling
in a
around
relationship.
For a while. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
So he had that leverage, and I think he even gives that to the Maronis last episode as a way to, I have dirt, I have information that's valuable, and he saves his own life, because they were ready to kill him at the time. So he has a lot of plates spinning at once, and you wonder, is he just going step to step, or does he have a long game that he's playing at? I don't know if he really can, because all these crazy things pop up.
Yeah, the only game we know he has is that he just wants to be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
That was his statement at the first episode. I want to run this city, but it's such chaos, playing all these sides against the other, and not really knowing how it's all going to react. How he comes out with these crazy spur of the moment plans, and he doesn't know how it's gonna happen, how it's gonna work. He just does it, and it doesn't always go right, which I think is great, because I think it'd be a boring show if everything he thought of suddenly went right and it worked out for him, so it doesn't go right, and he's, flying by the seat of his pants.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do wonder if we're meant to feel sympathy or meant to feel an affinity for Oz, if we're meant to root for him. Because it's kind of the same thing with any show, like even The Sopranos, where Tony Soprano is a complete, murderer, scumbag, but you find yourself rooting for them to not be killed, or you root for them to succeed because you have this attachment. Or like Walter White, I won't spoil anything, but they're not exactly the best people, but you find yourself rooting for them because you become invested in them when you shouldn't. But so I think what they've done with someone like the Penguin and someone has that appearance and everything, and that it's just such a, I don't know, and you have these little setbacks, like you said, all these things go wrong, but he still finds a way. He finds a way to make it work. Yeah,
and excuse me, the ultimate went wrong at the end of this episode when the Maroney showed up, getting ready for a little execution style ending there before Vic shows up with the car and puts the mess in that. But so what an exciting ending. I mean, like, what a cliffhanger, really. Very I was like, oh, I gotta watch the previews for next week, because I wanted a clue, but all they showed you was a little, the preview just showed a little bit of the story of Sophia in Arkham, and so I was like, okay, that's clever. But
So what did you think? So leading up to the end, the last couple of minutes, we have Vic and his decision, because he decided him and Penguin have the whole conversation, and Penguin tells him, you're not a prisoner, you can leave, and he tries to convince him to stay. Vic leaves, and Penguin looks pretty distraught over it. So when Vic goes to the bus station, did you think he would go or he would stay? Or what do you think he should have? What did you think would happen, and what should he have done?
Right. Well, he should have left. Realistically. But of course, I think that conversation with the Penguin really played him up. Like he built him up. Because he said, "Hey, kid, you got something going on here. You're gonna, be better. You're gonna, you're gonna have more. America's just a hustle, and you gotta learn how to hustle right, and you gotta, And he gave him this whole workup, And so, if that didn't happen, I think he would have left. But his head is big now. He's a gangster, after that talk up. And and he saw her get on the bus. He watched her get on the bus. And I think in that moment, he's like, you know what, go get your life. You'll be better off if you leave. But I'm getting into the stuff now. I have a big head now. I'm riding around in the Penguin's car, which I stole, basically. And he turns around and heads back. He wants to build up to that $2,000 a week. And
I really didn't know what he was going to choose, because I thought he might leave, and that might be it for him. But I think he saw her in line at the bus stop, and getting on the bus, and like I said, I think his head's getting bigger, and he thinks almost like I'm better than that, or I guess if he gets on the bus, he's gonna go to somewhere else. But what position will he be in? What will he have when he gets there? He'll get there with, just basically whatever is in his bag and the clothes on his back. So I think that's part of it. Like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to struggle, and I'm going to not have anything or no one.
and a few things led up to that too, because he got the $1,000 from the Penguin, and it got taken away, right? Yeah. And he played it cool with the cops. He did the right thing, and he might have thought he was going to get in trouble, but then Vic's like, not Vic, Oz, the Penguin, is like, yeah, that's the price you pay. That's the price of business, yeah. You know. And it was like, yeah, he did the right thing in that situation, and so of course that builds him up more. You know, so Vic has this sense that, yeah, okay, I know how to do this. I can play this game. I can be something. It was just great how all those little things led up to that final decision to slam the gas on and ram into that guy and then get the Penguin out of there. It all just made sense, and it was exciting, and it was still like, it wasn't like, oh, I know it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It was like, no, you were surprised by everything that happened, but it made perfect sense the way it did happen. It was great. Yeah,
like you mentioned, everything feels earned. The little moments, there's build up, there's setup, it's not just a bunch of events thrown together. Everything is kind of building to certain moments, and when the moments happen, whether or not it's what you expect or not, you feel like it's been building to a certain point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's a little wild. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised at the quality and what they're doing with the Penguin, because you don't really see this a whole lot with the Penguin, to kind of make him give him more of a street level feel, I guess. But I think we kind of mentioned that, I think, an episode or two ago. But yeah, I think it's really great what they're doing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, we saw the bombs going off in the beginning, and the whole. It looks like he must have bombed a reservoir or something, or a dam, or river wall or something. I don't know what it was, but all that water came flying into the city, and you saw that, and I'm assuming that was because of the perpetrator of that was the Riddler, because they've mentioned him a couple times in the previous episodes. So I'm wondering at what point that's going to come back and come into play. Is Victor going to have some sort of almost a revenge arc, almost, when he comes face to face with somebody who might have caused that? Or maybe not revenge, maybe just some sort of character arc relating to that. And how's that going to play into future episodes? I'm kind of curious, because, like I said, he's been mentioned. The Riddler's been mentioned. We saw the results of the Riddler's terrorism, basically. And what else are we going to get out of that by the end of this 8-episode run?
Yeah, I think it also gives you a different perspective on the events of the Batman, when because you see the explosions and the Riddler's flood, but you don't see you don't really feel the impact on just normal people. And I think that's what gives it a different twist, is when you see people on the ground, because in these big superhero movies, you get the perspective of the supervillains and the superheroes, but rarely do you see kind of a street level view of the people that it really affects, the people that are stuck in the crossfire. So I thought all that was really great. Just the damage and the impact it has on so many people that you don't really think about during those types of films, like all the destruction, like you see these big cities being leveled, and you don't really think about all the people that are stuck in between. So I thought that was really great. The street level view was really, really a nice touch.
Yeah, and really well done. I think other movies have tried to delve a little bit into that, But this one, they really hit the nail on the head with this show, because it's Victor's story arc is that street level, is that regular guy who's coming out of that situation, an orphan now, and you see the effects of becoming an orphan, moving that person into a life of crime, petty crime to start with, but then because of his situation getting noticed by somebody who's in organized crime. And so you see the whole thing unfold in such an organic manner that makes perfect sense. And it's that street level view of the effect of a terrorist act by a crazy supervillain that is really the impetus for that. And it was just with a few mentions here and there, and flashbacks, and that's it. And all that did that for that character and that his arc.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't spend a ton of time on it. It wasn't overly explained, or it wasn't kind of, you felt the emotional impact of those events, and they didn't have to spend a lot of time or have kind of hammer it to death. They just, the moments it did have it made the impact on the viewer just from what they showed us. And then Vic's response, his flashbacks and the way that it affected him, I think all that was really gives you, really makes you feel the weight of all those events.
Yeah, and there's some great scenes in the nightclub too. And you mentioned, of course, he's having that flashback in the nightclub because he dropped all the vials of the drug or whatever is the Bliss, and I thought that was like you said, it was really cool how they did that, how they did the flashback with that situation. And I'm trying to think of how that ties into the rest of his story arc too. Do you think he came out of that because the girl knelt down and helped him put the stuff back in the bag and was kind of like, what are you doing? Snap out of it or whatever. Do you think him getting over that flashback helped him decide later on that like, I can do this. I've overcome this fear, maybe?
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. It could be that he was able to overcome and kind of get past. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But that might be what made him, or what influenced him or pushed him over the edge to stay and to not leave when he had the choice to. He could handle it. He can move on, and I don't want to say heal from it because he's getting into organized crime, but he's at least trying to get past it in a certain way, or at least start that process of getting past it. So yeah, I think it could be something that influenced his decision.
Yeah. So we have all these really human moments, these relatable moments in many ways, all so we can cheer for these really bad people.
yeah. I think it's not easy to do. I think to make these bad people relatable and to make them someone that you root for, it's not an easy thing to do, because we see what they do. We see what the Penguin's capable of.
Yeah.
We see the things he's done, but we still, we see him on different sides of him. And I don't know where he goes from here, though. Like you mentioned, I don't know what's next after, because you would imagine that Sophia's probably taken. So I'm guessing that's maybe where we're going to go. We'll get her backstory and what happens to her. Maybe Vic and Oz come and save her, or work out some kind of deals. They work together. Maybe they can help each other. But there's so many different things happening, so many different plates he's spinning, that it's hard to balance all of them. Yeah,
there's a lot of plates he's spinning, and a lot of plates Sophia was spinning too. And so, of course, she's going to try to work her way out of that situation, whatever she's in now. I have a sneaking suspicion she's going to be captured after what just happened, even though it looked like they were setting up to shoot her down, but maybe they were just going to try to scare her or just shoot the Penguin and take her or something like that. She's got to be worth something to them, so I imagine they probably wouldn't have killed her at that point. And maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the Penguin knows that. Maybe that's why the Penguin took off, because he knows that they're definitely going to kill him. And he might know that they're not going to kill Sophia because she's valuable.
She's a chip.
Now that I just thought about that, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they're going to try to cut them in the Bliss, or use their connections to distribute the drug. I don't know that the triads have an exclusive on the distribution, but it could be something they try to use to get her back or work out some kind of deal. But yeah, I didn't think about that until you mentioned it just now, that I don't want to say she's untouchable, but killing her would set off a war.
Sure. It would be the excuse for war, even if they didn't like her.
Yeah. They want to ship her off to Italy.
Yeah. Right. Now, so with the Maronis showing up, does Sophia now realize that the Penguin was talking to them? Or does she already know that?
I don't think she knew that, because she gives him a look when they drive up and they confront him, and they seem like it's not just a surprise visit. Like, it's like, we've been watching you. We know what you've been up to. And so she gives him a look like, what are they talking about? Like, what are you up to? So I'm guessing he'll have to do something to make it up to her, or to prove himself again.
Yeah, because there's that factor involved in the whole thing too. How much are the Maronis going to tell Sophia about their relationship with Oz in order to get her to cooperate with whatever their plans are, including, there's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, a lot of strings that he's pulling. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens next.
Yeah, no, this is great stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. Anything else you have in your notes we didn't go over?
I think I got everything. Yep. And the Penguin at the end, like I said, is crazy as ever. He's like, he's almost ecstatic that he's driving off in this exciting situation. It was it was funny.
He's like a little kid almost. Like he's like he's just happy to be alive. That he made it through something else. That he survived through another disaster.
Yeah. And he was very excited that it was Vic who saved him.
Yeah.
That's pretty key, because he had a lot of hope for the kid, and he was telling the kid, he actually told the kid, if you want to leave, go ahead and leave. I'm not sure how much I believed him, but he did tell him that. And he was very excited that Vic came and saved him.
He said, I knew you'd come back. I knew you'd come back.
Yeah. That's right.
Maybe Vic will become a supervillain somehow, or maybe instead of dying, he'll die in a different way. He'll become something else at the end of the season, or I don't know. I'm excited though. See what they have in store for us.
Maybe he'll just be the first henchman that Batman takes out.
Oh.
Who knows?
What do you expect we'll have a Batman at least cameo this season?
I want to say yes. I want to say just a shot at the end in the final episode, or just him coming through the skylights like he always does, or whatever. But I really, we've had a lot of unexpected so far, and I'm enjoying that. So I really can't say for sure whether we will get it.
Do you think the show? You think it would make the show better or worse if Batman showed up?
I don't think it would detract from the show if it was done right. Like all things, if they're done right, then it's a bonus. We get these hints in the show because it is set in that universe, so they're not trying to make it, no, this is separate, ignore everything else you've ever seen, this is separate. The hints are there, so it wouldn't, I don't think it would ruin the show. I think it would just, as long as it doesn't turn into the Batman show in the last episode or two, and it would stink if he captured the Penguin at the end and put him in jail or put him in Arkham or whatever. I think that would be bad because the Penguin hasn't had a chance to be the Penguin yet. You know what I mean? It's still way more to go before he builds up to that point. So that would be bad if all of a sudden he's got the umbrella at the end and he gets captured by Batman and tied up or whatever. But I think just a slight appearance could be done right, and it could be done just as well as the rest of the show's been done.
Either way, I'm excited to see what happens. It'll be good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So yeah, episode 4. We'll see what it has in store for us. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
Everybody can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me on Speculative Speculations podcast and other fine podcasts here on pagetuning.com. Nice.
Yeah. It's good, really good stuff. I'm glad we decided to do a week by week thing. I think it's some series you can do that with and some you just can't, but this is definitely one that has so many nuances and little things that it's a lot to dissect every week.
There is indeed.
Yeah. Well, cool. So thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk again next week.